My name is Anna. I am 29 years old. I live in New York now, but I am not from here. I am from Mexico. I came here alone. I came last week. I was scared, but I had no choice. My family needed help. My mother is sick. She cannot walk. My father is too old to work. My sister is still in school. We had no money. I had to do something. Before I left, my mother hugged me. She said, "Be safe, my girl." My father gave me all the money he had. It was not much, but it helped. My sister gave me her bracelet. She said, "This is lucky. Wear it every day." I kissed them goodbye. I cried when I left. I was sad, but I had hope. When I arrived in New York, I felt small. The city was big. The streets were loud. The cars moved fast. The buildings were tall. I had never seen a place like this. I stayed with my cousin. She works in a hotel. She cleans rooms every day. She is kind, but she is very busy. She said, "You must find work, Anna. Life here is not easy." I did not wait. I woke up early the next morning. I walked to shops. I walked to cafes. I walked to schools. I asked, "Do you need help? I can clean." Some people smiled. Some said, "No job." Some people said nothing. I was tired. My shoes were old. My legs hurt. But I did not stop. I needed work. I needed money. I wanted to send money to my mother. My biggest problem was English. I only speak a little. I can say my name. I can say, "Hello." I can say, "I want to work." But that is all. I felt shy. I was scared to speak. But I smiled. I used my hands to show what I meant. I looked at people's faces. I tried my best. One evening, my cousin came home. She gave me a small paper. She said, "A school near here needs a cleaner. Go tomorrow." I looked at the paper. I was happy. A job in a school. Maybe this was my chance. That night I cleaned my clothes. I brushed my hair. I prayed before I slept. I said, "Please let them say yes." The next morning, I got up early. I wore the bracelet my sister gave me. I walked to the school. My hands were cold. I was nervous. I said to myself, "You can do this. Just try." I walked inside the building. A woman met me at the door. She had short hair. She smiled at me. She said, "Hello. Are you Anna?" I said, "Yes, I am Anna." She said, "Nice to meet you. Please sit down." She asked me some questions. She asked, "Where are you from?" I said, "I am from Mexico." She asked, "When did you come to New York?" I said, "Last week." She asked, "Do you speak English?" I said, "A little." She smiled and said, "That's okay. You can learn." I felt better. I smiled back. I said, "Yes, I want to learn English." Then she asked, "Why do you want this job?" I said, "I want to work. I need money." She wrote something on her paper. Then she asked, "Did you work before?" I said, "Yes. I cleaned classrooms in a school. I cleaned floors. I took out trash. I cleaned windows." She said, "This job is also in a school. You will help the teachers." I said, "Yes, I can do that." She said, "You will work from Monday to Friday." I said, "Okay." She said, "You must come at 8 o'clock in the morning." I said, "No problem. I will come." She said, "The salary is $2,000 every month." I smiled. That was a good amount. I said, "Thank you." She asked, "Can you start next Monday?" I said, "Yes, I can." Then I asked a question. I was afraid to ask, but I had to. I said, "Can I take English classes?" She looked at me. She smiled again. She said, "Yes. We will give you free English lessons." I felt so happy. I wanted to cry. I said, "Thank you so much." She said, "You're welcome, Anna. See you on Monday." I stood up. I said, "See you." When I walked out of the school, the sky looked more blue. The sun was warm on my face. I felt light. I walked fast. I wanted to tell my cousin. I found a small shop. I used a payphone. I said, "I got the job." My cousin said, "Good job. You are strong." I smiled and said, "Thank you." That night, I did not sleep much. I lay on my bed and looked at the wall. I thought about my mother. I saw her face in my mind. I saw her smile. I thought about my sister. She wants to be a nurse. I thought about my father. He always worked hard. Now I can help. I must work hard. I must not fail. I held my hand. I wore my sister's bracelet. I looked at it. It was red with small white beads. I kissed it. I said, "This is just the start." I closed my eyes. I said, "Thank you, God." I knew life would still be hard, but I had hope now. I had a job. I had a chance. I remembered the woman at the school. She was kind. She smiled. She did not laugh at my English. She gave me a chance. That is all I needed. I thought about my first day. I would wake up early. I would wear clean clothes. I would do my best. I would clean the floors. I would help the teachers. I would learn English. I would send money home. I would call my mother and say, "I have a job now." I did not come here for fun. I came here for my family. I came here to work. I came here to grow. I want to do good things. I want to learn. I want to be strong. I want to be proud. That night, I said one last thing before sleep. I said, "Thank you for this day. I will work hard. I will not give up." I closed my eyes, and for the first time in many nights, I slept with a smile. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. Monday morning came fast. I woke up before the sun. My small room was cold, but my heart was warm. I was ready. I had work now. I had a reason to get up. I put on my clean shirt. I wore black pants and old shoes. I looked at myself in the mirror. I smiled. I looked strong. I tied my hair back. I put on my sister's red bracelet. It gave me hope. I took the train to the school. It was early. The train was not full yet. I sat by the window. I watched the city move. I held my bag tight. Inside was a bottle of water, some bread, and a small note. My cousin gave me the note. It said, "You can do it, Anna." I smiled when I read it. When I reached the school, I walked to the back door. The woman from the interview was there. She smiled at me. "Good morning, Anna," she said. "Welcome." I smiled back and said, "Good morning." She showed me the small cleaning room. There were tools inside, mops, brooms, gloves, and soap. She said, "This is your place. You will keep it clean. You will take what you need from here." She gave me a paper with tasks. I read slowly. Clean floors, empty trash, wipe windows, clean toilets, help with chairs. I nodded. I could do all of that. I had done it before. She showed me the classrooms. They were quiet. The tables were small. The chairs were blue and yellow. On the walls were pictures and books. I liked it. It felt warm. It felt safe. The first hour, I cleaned the teacher's room. It had a table, a fridge, and a sink. I took out the trash. I cleaned the floor. I washed the sink. And one teacher walked in. She smiled and said, "Thank you." I said, "You're welcome." That was all I could say, but it felt good. She smiled again and left. I felt proud. Later, I cleaned a classroom. The floor was messy. I used a broom and mop. The room smelled fresh after that. I cleaned the windows. They were tall. My arms got tired. I stopped for 1 minute. I looked outside. The children were coming. They laughed and ran. I smiled. I liked their happy faces. At lunch, I sat alone. I ate my bread. I drank water. I was tired, but happy. One teacher came and sat near me. She said, "Is this your first day?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You are doing well." I smiled. I wanted to say more, but I did not know how. She talked slowly. If you want help with English, I can help. My eyes got big. I said, yes, please. After lunch, I helped move chairs in the big room. There was a meeting. I worked with another woman. Her name was Rosa. She was from Peru. She spoke a little Spanish and English. She was kind. She said, "You work fast." I laughed and said, "Thank you." She said, "We can talk more later. I will help you." I was so happy to hear that. At the end of the day, my feet hurt. My back hurt too. But my heart was full. I did something good. I worked all day. I helped people. I earned my money. That night I called my mother. I used my cousin's phone. "Mama," I said, "I have a job. I work in a school." My mother cried. She said, "I'm so proud of you." I cried too. Each day that week was the same. I got up early. I cleaned the school. I smiled at the teachers. I helped Rosa. I learned new English words. I wrote them in a notebook. I asked Rosa how to say things. She said, "Start with small words and use them every day." I did that. I said, "Good morning." I said, "I will clean now." I said, "Thank you." Every word made me feel more brave. On Wednesday, a child dropped milk on the floor. I ran to clean it. The teacher said, "Thank you, Anna." The child looked at me. He said, "Sorry." I smiled and said, "It's okay." His small voice made me smile all day. That night my cousin asked, "Do you like your job?" I said, "Yes." "The people are nice. The school is nice. I want to learn more." She gave me her old English book. I read one page every night. It was hard, but I kept trying. On Friday, Rosa gave me a paper. "This is for English class," she said. "It is free. After work, you can go." My hands shook. I said, "Thank you so much." She smiled. "We all start small," she said. I held the paper close. I looked at the address. It was not far. That evening, I went to the class. It was in a small room. There were 10 other people. One was from Brazil. One was from China. One was from Syria. They all wanted to learn English. The teacher said, "Welcome. We will learn together." I felt safe there. We started with names. I said, "My name is Anna." The teacher said, "Nice to meet you, Anna." I said, "Nice to meet you." I wrote it down. I said it again and again. I learned, "Where are you from?" I learned, "What do you do?" I wrote everything in my notebook. When I got home, I read it all again. I spoke the words out loud. I stood in front of the mirror. I said, "Hello. My name is Anna." I said, "I work in a school." I laughed at myself, but I kept going. I was learning. I was growing. On Saturday, I cleaned my room. I did laundry. I bought rice and beans. I saved the rest of my money. I wanted to send it to my mother. I wrote a short letter. I said, I am working. I am learning. I miss you. I love you. Sunday was quiet. I went for a walk. I looked at the trees. I looked at the sky. I sat in the park. I thought about my home. I thought about my new life. I was still afraid sometimes, but I was also proud. I was working. I was learning. I was becoming strong. At night, I made a small plan. I wrote it in my notebook. Work hard. Learn English. Send money home. Be kind. Be strong. Don't give up. I looked at the list. I said, I can do this. I looked at my sister's bracelet. I said, thank you. Then I closed my eyes. I slept well. My first week was done. A new life had begun. Weeks passed. I worked every day. I cleaned floors. I emptied trash. I helped the teachers. I smiled at the children. My body was tired, but my heart was full. I was proud. I had a job. I had a goal. Every Monday to Friday, I woke up at 6. I drank tea. I ate bread. I put on my old shoes. I wore my lucky bracelet. I looked in the mirror. I said, be strong today. I went to the school. I cleaned the rooms. I helped Rosa. We became good friends. She spoke slow English with me. She also taught me new words. I said them again and again. She never laughed. She helped me learn. Each day, I wrote 3 new words in my notebook. I said them on the train. I said them at work. I said them before bed. I was learning. I was getting better. I also went to English class after work. The class was small, but I liked it. The teacher was kind. She spoke slow. She used easy words. I listened. I read. I spoke. I made new friends. We were all the same. We wanted to learn. One night the teacher asked me, "What do you like about New York?" I said, "I like the lights. I like the school. I like learning." I said it slow, but I said it right. The teacher smiled. "Very good, Anna," she said. One Friday at work, the principal called me. She said, "Come to my office." I was scared. I thought maybe I did something wrong. I walked slow. My hands were cold. She smiled at me. "Anna, thank you," she said. "You work hard. The school is always clean. The teachers are happy. You are doing a good job." I said, "Thank you. I wanted to say more, but I did not know the words. She said, "Next month, we can give you more hours. You will clean the lunchroom too. We will give you more money." My eyes got big. "Yes," I said. "Thank you. I can do that." That night I cried, but they were happy tears. I sat on my bed and wrote a letter to my mother. I said, "I have more work now. I will send more money. Please buy your medicine. Please take care." I sent the letter and $100, my first money home. I felt so proud. I kissed the envelope before I gave it to the postman. Sundays were my quiet days. I went to the park. I sat near the trees. I looked at the sky. I thought about my life. I still missed my family. I still felt alone sometimes. But I was not sad. I had a job. I had a friend. I had a plan. One Sunday, I got a letter from my sister. She said, "Mama is getting better. She takes the new medicine. Papa says thank you. I show your letters to our neighbors. They all pray for you." I held the letter close. I cried again. My tears fell on the paper. I said, "Thank you." One cold morning, Rosa was not at work. She was sick. The school was very busy. I worked fast. I cleaned her part too. I cleaned the bathrooms. I cleaned the lunchroom. I cleaned the stairs. The teacher saw me. She said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, I help Rosa today." She smiled and said, "You are a good worker." That evening, I was very tired. My hands hurt. My back hurt. But I was proud. I did not stop. I did not complain. I just worked. I wanted to be useful. I wanted to be strong. A few days later, Rosa came back. She said, "Thank you, Anna. You helped me so much." I said, "Of course." She gave me a small box. Inside was a pen and a card. The card said, "You are kind." I smiled. I hugged her. We were more than co-workers now. We were like sisters. One day my English teacher asked me to read a story. I was nervous, but I said yes. I stood in front of the class. I read slow. I made small mistakes, but I finished the whole page. My teacher clapped. The other students clapped too. I felt warm inside. I was learning. I was doing it. Later that week, I spoke more at work, said, "Good morning," to the teachers. I said, "How are you?" Said, "I clean here today." They smiled more. One teacher said, "Your English is getting better." Said, "Thank you." I was so happy. That weekend, I got a message from the school. They wanted me to come to a staff meeting. I thought, me? A meeting? I was shy. But I said yes. At the meeting, I sat in the back. I listened. I did not understand every word. But I listened hard. After the meeting, the principal said, "Anna, thank you for coming. You are part of our team." I felt special. I was part of something now. Time passed. I learned more words. I cleaned more rooms. I saved more money. I sent money home every month. My mother was better now. My father was proud. My sister finished school. She wanted to come to New York too. I wrote her a letter. I said, "Wait, it is hard here, but I will help you one day." One night, I sat with my notebook. I looked at all my words. My first page said, "Hello, my name is Anna." My last page said, "I work in a school. I clean. I learn. Yelp." I read every page. I smiled. I had come far. I still lived in a small room. I still worked long hours. But I was not the same. I was stronger. I was not afraid now. One evening, Rosa and I walked home together. We stopped at a small cafe. She said, "Anna, what is your dream?" I looked at the sky. I said, "I want to study more. I want to work in a big school. Maybe help children. Maybe teach one day." She smiled and said, "You can do it. You are brave." I laughed. "I don't know." She looked at me. "I know." That night, I wrote a new list in my notebook. Work hard. Speak more English. Help my family. Keep learning. Believe in myself. I looked at the list. I said, I did not give up. I will not stop now. I closed my notebook. I looked at my bracelet. I held it tight. I was not the same girl who came on the bus. I was not the girl with only a few words. I was Anna. I was a worker. I was a learner. I was strong. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.